guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Dual Purpose. If this is your first time here, my name is Latoya and you're watching another episode of Dual Purpose Conversations, where I get to interview amazing people from around the world who share their personal testimonies. We're also talking about self-care, self-love, and faith and business. So if you would like to be featured on this show, there is an email address in the description of this video. Email us and a member of the Dual Purpose team will be in touch with you. So today I will be interviewing the amazing Darren Ferguson, who is literally a walking miracle. Darren is the only known person to have had 5 transplants and is still alive. And I'm really looking forward to sharing Darren's story with you today. So as we go through this video, feel free to comment, and also comment if there are any specific topics that you would like for us to cover during the Dual Purpose Conversations series. If you'd like to register for our mailing list where we send out a monthly devotional, there's a link in the description of this video. Simply sign up and we'll make sure that you are included in our monthly mailings. So let's get into the video. So welcome to today's show, Darren. Thank you so much for joining us. And just before we go any further into your story, would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into your incredible story.
Okay, first of all, it's great to be with you, Latoya. Thank you for the opportunity for me to share my story, my testimony. As you know, my name is Darren Ferguson. I am 39 years old. What do? I run all the social media for Faith Dimensions Ministries in Milton Keynes.
So one of the things I want to talk about is your amazing book, which is called How I Survived 5 Kidney Transplants and Won. And I really enjoyed reading this book because a lot of the pages, it was like I was watching a movie. It's very descriptive for telling us what you went through. So let's pick up where we left off in part 1. If you'd like to view part 1, there is a link in the description of this video. And there's a saying, actually, I heard a preacher say a couple of years ago, I've never forgotten it, but he said, God cannot deliver the person that you pretend to be.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that's so powerful because it's the truth. God knows anyway. But
of course.
If you're continuing to pretend that you don't need Jesus, you don't need people, you've got it all together, he's just waiting for that moment when you're ready to actually say, okay, Lord, I don't even know anymore. So yeah, I think that's so important that, you know, we have to be real with God and with the people that we can say, you know, are our support structure and our safety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like you say, 100%. God knows anyway. You know, and the days have gone where I go to God and try and pretend, because as you say, He knows anyway. You know, sometimes I go to God and literally, like I'm talking to my doctors, I will talk to God exactly the same way. You know, and there's been times I've gone to God, then people will say it's disrespectful, but I would say, God, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Why have I not suffered enough? You know, I've gone to him and I was like, nah, you're joking, right? Seriously, you're actually kidding me now. Like, I've gone through this, I've gone through this, I've gone through this, I've gone through this, I've lost this, I've lost that. Now I'm going through this. I'm like, you know what? Me and you ain't talking today.
But it's relationship, isn't it? You know, if we look at God as our Father, you know, our best friend, you can speak to him like that in a non-disrespectful way and just, this is how I'm feeling, like, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, for sure. But you know, unfortunately, in church, some people tell you that is wrong. You can't go to that God like that. You need to go to God with holy reverence and you know, all these kind of stuff. But you know, if God is your heavenly Father, you know, the same way that I would go to my dad and I would tell him how I'm feeling. You know, I'll go to my mother and tell her how I'm feeling. I can go to God exactly the same way.
Yeah.
You know, and just lay it all out to him and just say, God, you know, I'm tired. You know, and sometimes God has literally just told me, do you know what? Switch everything off, switch the mobile off, switch the laptop off, and just go lie down. Just sleep. You know, or go for a drive. Or he would tell me a certain song to play, or he'd tell me a certain scripture to read. You know, if I didn't go to him, how I went to him, I would never have heard that.
Yeah.
So it's important and it's crucial for those who do have a relationship with him to go to him and just be real. Yeah. Yes, I know we serve a God who moves on faith and he's not moved on emotion, but we serve a God who wants us to be absolutely open and real with him, because like you said, he knows anyway. So when we're going to him and acting, he's, like you say, he's just sitting there like, okay, when you're ready. When you're ready, you tell me exactly how you're really feeling, then we can move on. And I feel as Christians, that's why we don't get breakthrough sometimes, because we're not being open, we're not being honest with him. There's a process with God that we have to go through. Okay, and I'll be the first to say I haven't always been the best Christian. Trust me, I haven't. Dad said he side slipped. I backslid. Trust me. I did. Because there's times I didn't want to know anything about God at all. And I stopped going to church, and got myself mixed with the wrong crowd, the wrong people, went to the wrong places, and even there, I see the grace of God on my life anyway. But it was a process that I had to go through with my relationship with God, that now I know, you can't move me with my relationship with God now, because I know the process that not only has he brought me through, but the process and the journey that me and him have been through together. Where I've thrown him away, but then he's taken me back. I've thrown him away, he's taken me back. But again, it's a journey. Everything that we're talking about today is a journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a journey. That's what we're really talking about, of a journey of what we go through, a journey of who we are, journey of discovering who this God is. And when we really surrender to him, what he's able to bring us through.
Yeah, and I really just hope that anybody watching this along their journey, wherever they may be in that journey, will just find some strength and encouragement in what we're saying, and just know that our story may not be your story, but whatever your story is, it's the same God who can help you through whatever it is that you're facing. And one of the things that you mentioned in this book, I don't want you to go too much into detail about it, just because I want people to really get this book. I think it's an incredible account of what you've been through, and obviously you couldn't package 30 plus years into a book, but the parts that you have drawn out are very encouraging. But one of the things that you talked about in the book is that there were many times that you were angry with God. So I don't want you to go too much into detail about those particular situations, but what would you say to that person watching this video that feels angry with God for whatever reason? They're not where they wanted to be in life. They feel that God has let them down. People have let them down. Their story doesn't make sense where they are in life right now. They just can't see a way out. They feel that God is punishing them. There could be so many different reasons why people are angry with God. But what would you say to that person watching today?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. People do feel angry. People just feel angry, period. They're angry at themselves, they're angry at God, they're angry at their husband, their wife, their children, their cat, their dog, just angry. Again, it is a process. And I can't stress this enough about the process, okay? I can tell you to levels of anger that I've been at that was just bad, okay, where I felt during that period that if anyone came to me at that time, I could have done serious damage. And I'm going to say something, and please, it may sound disrespectful, but I got to the level of anger where if God was a person, we would have had a fight. And, I even questioned, is God real? And I'm being very transparent because I want to help somebody. And, you may be thinking, how can a pastor's kid, think if God is real? But I've been so low before that I think, if this God is real, how is this happening? Why is this happening? My dad speaks about the God, the deliverer, the God, the healer. But yet, when dad comes off that pulpit, I'm dealing with this battle. And yeah, it hasn't been nice. But what I would say is, if you're feeling that, I would say deal with it. Deal with it, and deal with it quickly, because you're not going to get anywhere in life feeling that level of anger or bitter, or you're feeling twisted. You're not going to get anywhere. All you're doing is hurting yourself, and you have to deal with that anger. Because I've known people that have been so angry that it's got to the point where they're now in prison, or they're now dead, because they've got themselves in the wrong situation. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it all stemmed from being angry. So my encouragement is, deal with it now. It's a very serious subject. And I know how you're feeling if you're angry, but please deal with it however you can. If you have to speak to somebody, if you have to deal with a certain situation, deal with it, because you're not going to get anywhere. That's what I'm going to say. Read my book. That's what I'll say. Read my book.
Read the book.
Read the book. But it's a very serious emotion. Anger could lead to a very dangerous road. And when you're angry, you're not thinking straight. You're not. You know, let's just look at one scenario that we all know. You know, people that are in abusive relationships. You know, where the wife may be beaten, or even nowadays the husband may be getting beaten. You know, it's not something to laugh at. You know, it all stems from that angry situation. It wasn't dealt with. You know, somebody didn't just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm going to beat that person." It started with a situation that wasn't dealt with, and just carried on, and that anger was building up, where you say, "Okay, I'm not going to talk no more." And you actually use your fist, or you use a weapon. You know, so it's a very serious emotion that needs to be spoken about.
Yeah.
You know, in society, I think society is a lot better than church, to be honest with you, when dealing with certain situations. But yeah, buy the book.
By the book. But we can't end this interview without talking about two particular topics. And I'll start with, so you mentioned in the book how, you know, you found yourself in situations where you were looking for love in the wrong places. You were in relationships and friendships that you knew you shouldn't really be in, but because of where you were at the time, looking for that acceptance, looking for what you thought was love, you found yourself in these situations. There's one account, I won't go too much into it.
Oh gosh.
I just felt like I was reading the story of the prodigal son. And so you found yourself far from home, let's say, and you had that realization one day that, what am I doing here? I have a family that loves me. What was it like knowing that you had gone on this
this journey,
gone on this extra journey?
Well, you know,
and now you have to come back to your parents and your brother. What was that like?
You know what? I'll share a little. This bit is not actually in the book, actually, so I can share this bit. But there was a particular situation that was happening at home. Me and my dad was just not seeing eye to eye at all, and my dad is very much a matter of fact type of person. If you're in my house, these are the rules. This is what happens. Okay. And I thought I was a big bad man, and I would just deal with this situation. So I walked out the house, and where we're living at the time, and where we live. Once you walk out the house, you go past, you walk down an alley, and you're into another neighborhood. I won't say the neighborhood just in case that person actually sees this video. And there were two people waiting for me. There were two girls waiting for me. And the silly part in my mind knew straight away it was a setup. And I should have said, you know what, Darren, just go home. Just deal with it. Because I know the sort of parents my parents are. We'll talk about it. I may get in trouble, but you know what? They'll forgive me. But no, I was so, again, angry. I was so angry. I just kept going. And I got myself, you know, the short version of the story is I got myself mixed up in this relationship. and mixed up with this crowd, who were, you know, they were just bad. They were just bad on every level. You know, kind people, but just bad. They're not the sort of people that you want to mix with, and they're not the sort of people that you want to get upset because they, yeah. And this is the crowd that I was in. And do you know what? After a certain period of time, I was seeing certain things. I didn't get involved. 100%, I didn't get involved, but I was seeing certain things, and I knew if they ever get caught, what would happen. Myself, because I was in that environment, I would have ended up in prison myself. And yeah, you know, I was still dealing with my sickness, and this is what really happened. I remember a day I wasn't living at home. I was living with this particular family at the time, the sister, and I was so sick. I literally thought I was gonna die, and they all decided to go out partying and whatever, and I was gonna go, but I was just so sick. I just couldn't move off the bed. And you know what? Every single one of my so-called friends left. And you know, the only one person I could call at that time was my mother. Literally, that was the only person I could call. And I said, Mum, you have to come and get me. I know we're not on good terms, but you have to come and get me. And you know what? She took me to the hospital, and the doctor actually said to her, if you did not get Darren here in the next half an hour, he would have died. And you know what? That was it. That was it. I had to swallow all my pride. I had to literally go back home, as you said, the prodigal son, and say, do you know what, Mum? Do you know what, Dad? Do you know what, Lee? I'm sorry for what I done. Walking out of your house in rebellion, almost, bringing shame on the family name, as they say, because people saw me. They saw me, the pastor's son. What's he doing in that kind of environment? What's he doing hanging out with these sort of people? And it was difficult. It was very difficult. Again, that was a whole different process that I had to go through, dealing with that. But you know what? My mum and dad brought me back home like nothing happened. Once we spoke, Lee treated me like nothing happened. Once we spoke, it was interesting. It was interesting. But you know what? To answer your question about the prodigal son, and somebody may be feeling like that. If you have, it's not even about if. Go back home. Go back home to your family. Go back home to your wife, your husband, and make it right. If you're in that bad situation, and you're in that bad situation, it can be turned around. There's nothing that you can't overcome. That youngster that may be in a rebellious stage of their life, and you're in that rebellious stage of your life, but in the recess of your heart, you want to go home and make it right, but you don't know how to. Just make that first call. Just send that first text. And it's a process. Again, we're using this word so often now. It's a process that you're going to have to go through. But somebody has to take that first step. And, I was in the wrong. I had to take that first step. I had to swallow my pride. I had to admit that I was wrong. Because yes, if I'm in my parents' home, there's going to be rules that I have to abide to. But I didn't see it that way. But yeah, just swallow your pride, man. Swallow it. And, things can turn around very quickly when we do things right. That's what I would say. Things can be turned around quickly if you do things right. So I hope I've answered your question.
No, you have. And I think that's such great advice. And what I love about the advice that you give is that you're giving it from a place that I was there and I've overcome that. I think sometimes we can give people advice and we don't have any idea what we're talking about. So we can rely on scriptures all the time. But I love the fact that your encouragement is coming from a point of view that I went through this. I made this mistake. I know what I'm talking about. And I really do hope that whoever's watching this, that is in that place where they've wandered far from home, you know, that they do what you say and just make it right. And I think, you know, one of the beautiful things about that part of your story is that it just reminds us of the love of the Father, and how there's nothing we can do, there's no place we can go that's too far, that he won't be there with open arms to say, I've been waiting for you. Welcome home, son. Welcome home, daughter. And I just hope that whoever's watching this, whether you are a Christian or not, just know that there is a heavenly Father who loves you so much. It doesn't matter what you've done. There's nothing that's too bad, too far, that he will not love you and accept you.
I just want to say on that point, sorry, I just want to say a lot of times it's what we think of what's going to happen. You know, because I was thinking, oh, my mum and dad are not going to accept me. My mum and dad are not going to, even if they let me in, they're going to look at me in a particular way. You know, and I remember even when I did go back home, you know, I put myself in an isolated situation because I was thinking something. You know, if I was upstairs in my room and I heard them talking, but I couldn't really hear what they were saying, in my mind, I was thinking, oh, they're talking about me, you know, or they haven't forgiven me, you know, but 99% of the time, it's what we think, you know, because once I went back home, you know, and we sat down and we spoke, you know, it was like the situation never happened. You know, my mom, my dad, my brother, you know, they were just treating me like, like the situation was done, it was dusted, it happened, they moved on, but I didn't. You know, and I felt guilty for a long time. Even when I left home the right way, you know, I moved out and me and my brother lived together, I still felt guilty. You know, and I said sorry so many times. And every time I'd done it, my parents kept saying, and Lee kept saying, you don't have to say sorry. And this was years after the situation happened, you know, but it was because of what I was thinking, you know, what the enemy was plaguing on my mind, that, oh, your parents don't love you. They still haven't forgiven you. How could you do that? How could you do that to your parents after everything they done for you medically? And you know, I was holding on to what the enemy, the devil, was saying more than what my parents were saying, more than what God was saying. You know, so the battle with the prodigal son, the battle really isn't going back. The battle is in the mind, even when you do go back.
That's a whole nother sermon.
You know, that's where the battle really is. And that's where the battle, that's what you have to overcome. You know, so I would say, yes, go back home to wherever, you know, but know there's going to be a separate battle that you have to overcome. And that is harder than actually stepping inside the house. But you know what, with the help of God, and again, digging deep and be willing to fight. And again, knowing who you are as a person, over time, you will overcome it. Because now, when I think about it, I don't feel that guilt. You know, I don't feel embarrassed. I don't feel the shame. I feel now, okay, yes, it happened. I'm not happy it happened, but it formed me to the person that I am now. So the process and the journey will strengthen you to get to that point, and you will know when you've really overcome that situation, when you don't feel that guilt, when you don't feel that shame, when you don't feel that embarrassment, and you accept that that situation happened, and you thank God that it happened because you're stronger for it.
Yeah. And I think with what you were saying about knowing who you are as well, it's that not allowing your mistake to define you. You know, we make mistakes, but we are not those mistakes. They are events that happened, but we can still move forward, move past that, and allow those situations to make us.
100%.
Yeah. Brilliant. So just on that topic about, you know, running into relationships looking for love, obviously you do talk in your story as well how you were told by, or your parents were told, that you wouldn't live past the age of 7. Clearly, God has performed a miracle in your life, and you are literally a walking miracle. You are the only person known who has had 5 transplants and is still alive, hence the title of your book. But you were told that you wouldn't live past the age of 7. You wanted to get married, you wanted to have a family, but those types of things, with all the pronouncements that the medical professionals were given, those types of things just seemed like a dream for a long time. But eventually you did meet the beautiful Amanda. You know, for those of us looking from the outside, I have to say Amanda is an absolutely incredible human being. And
amen. I'm confident.
Amen. Amen. She'll be watching this. No, but on a serious note, you know, she got married quite young. And you talk in the book how she gave up a lot for the marriage and for the relationship. But one of the things I love that you mentioned in the book is how you invited her to the hospital on one of your treatment days. I won't go too much into the story, but you invited her to the hospital in a way to see how she would react. And you mentioned that it was like, you know, it was like nothing. Not that she didn't care, but she saw Darren for Darren, not Darren the kidney patient. How would you describe having such a supportive wife? I know you have a praying wife as well. How has that helped you and supported you along your journey?
Yeah, it's been our marriage has been a journey, as far as, you know, every marriage is a journey. Every married couple will say that. You know, you have, and as Dad says in our church, you have the ideal and you have the realistic. You know, my ideal is definitely far from what we've experienced, far from it. And to be honest with you, this is why growing up, I wasn't sure if I wanted to get married. You know, it's just because I knew what I was going through. So the idea of marriage and kids, it sounded great. But number one, I didn't want to leave my wife as a widow. And if we were blessed with kids, I didn't want my kids being brought up in a single home. What I mean by if I passed away from my illness. So I didn't know if it would ever happen. We won't talk about the past relationships that I ran into, and you know, that's a whole different subject. But yeah, when I met Amanda, I've known Amanda for many years, you know, through my cousin. It's been a journey, and I thank God for Amanda. I really do. Not every woman will be able to take on what Amanda has been able to take on, in the sense of she got married at 21. She was about to, you know, fly in her career, you know, in makeup. I'm not even going to try and act like I know what I'm talking about, but makeup industry, and you know, New York, Paris, all these fashion shows, you ladies know where they happen, and she was about to do it. But I remember we spoke, and I said to her, you know, I don't know how long my situation is going to last. You know, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 20 years. It may not ever end. And she said, and I said, you know what? I would understand if you don't want to get married. And she's like, no, we're going to do it. You know, and she dropped everything. I mean, when I say everything, I mean everything. And we got married. And there's been certain situations that have happened with my illness that if Amanda wasn't there, it wouldn't have ended good at all. You know, she's prayed me through. She's had to feed me. She's had to wash me. There's just so much that she's had to do. She's had to carry me, not only physically but emotionally, physically, financially at times. You know, it's so much that she's had to carry just because I couldn't carry myself. There was times that I just couldn't work. You know, I couldn't look after the kids, couldn't do anything in the house, and she done it all. You know, and this is why it is so important that you marry the right person. Because if I married the wrong person, either I would have been dead or divorced, easy. Because it's been a lot. and it takes the right person. I don't want to say it takes the right person to carry you through whatever situation you have to go through. That's why it's vital, if you're single, don't just marry for money. Don't just marry for the muscle, or she's got a, as they say, the Beyonce body or whatever, or long hair, which probably isn't even hers anyway. But you need to look, all jokes aside, you need to look deeper. You need to look deeper than what you can physically see. Because there's going to be certain things that you go through in your marriage that if you're not holding on together, if you're not married to the right person, your marriage is going to crumble. So really, I owe Amanda everything, and I know the dream and the vision that I have for Amanda, I have for my daughters, I have for my house. Because even my daughters, bless them, at their young age, they've seen a lot. They've seen a lot more than they probably should have, of me being sick. So I owe them a lot. And as I said, I know the dream that I have for them, and I know that dream will come to pass. But yeah, Amanda she's a gem. She's a gem. And, read the book.
Very blessed man. Yes, read the book. You've dedicated a chapter to the love story with Amanda, which I just think is so great. And you were told that you wouldn't be able to father children, and you just mentioned you've got two beautiful daughters. So God has really proven the point, and I think reading this book, you could have almost called it the making of Darren Ferguson.
Really could have.
Every account that you put in the story, it just shows us how you've come to be, the jovial young man that we know, but also, as you said, you are extremely strong. And I know that people do look at you and say, if Darren can go through this like this, then I can also go through whatever I'm going through. And yes, we don't see all the behind the scenes and all of that, but you carry yourself in such a way that shows us that God is faithful, and shows us what suffering successfully, as our bishop often says, what that looks like. So yeah, the other thing that I want to touch on is you had an opportunity to meet Princess Diana, the late Princess Diana, who is a national treasure. I absolutely love Princess Diana, but what was it like meeting her? How old were you? What did it feel like to meet her? You actually have a picture with her, don't you? I'm going to see if I can find it. And I'll add it. But before you do that, sorry, you mentioned that Amanda is a makeup artist. She's incredible at what she does. So I will put in the description of this video just her Instagram handle, and if anybody wants to contact her, if you're based in the UK or if you're willing to fly her abroad, I mean, come on now. But I'll put her details in the description of this video if anybody does want to reach out to her for that. But yeah, what was it like meeting Princess Diana? How old were you, and why is that such a memorable experience for you?
Yeah, sure. I think I was, it was Great Ormond Street. So I was 15. And she was opening up the dialysis unit at Great Ormond Street. And I remember, I think if my memory serves me correctly, she was coming in on a Friday, and we went in on the Monday. And there was this whole hoo-ha of, cleaning and whatever. And I was like, what's going on? What's going on? And they didn't tell us straight away. All they said is, we have a surprise for you. So it was like, we were like, okay, we're still doing our dialysis, and there was so much going on. As I said, there was cleaning and certain things were being put up. And so we thought it was going to be like a celebrity at Great Ormond Street, footballers coming or different celebrities coming, because it's a children's hospital. So they try and do certain things for the kids. So we thought that. And then on the Wednesday, we came back and they said, oh, royalty's coming in, a member from the royal family. So we're like, oh, okay, not such a great surprise after all. I mean, some people may be happy, if you're a royalist or whatever. But yeah, a lot of us really wasn't. We're kids. Who cares? But then they said Princess Diane, and we're like, oh, okay, cool. And we had to do like a card, and buy the hospital bought different gifts that we had to give her and stuff like this. And I remember the day that she came on the Friday, the paparazzi and the cameras and all this kind of stuff. And You know, the nurses were being extra special and extra nice. And I remember I was sitting in my side room on dialysis and I could hear this voice and I got nervous. I have to admit, I did get nervous because I was like, okay, what am I going to say? And, you know, what am I going to do? And all this kind of stuff. But me, I played it cool. I was just like, yeah, whatever. It's Princess Diane. But I remember she walked in and I'll never forget how tall she was. I mean, if you've never had the privilege, I mean, bless her, rest in peace. But if you never had the privilege of meeting her, she was absolutely beautiful. And I mean, she was tall. I remember I just looked up and she was so beautiful. She was just elegant. You know, you get those women that just walk and talk with elegance. That was Princess Diana. I remember she came and sat next to me and she put her hand on my leg and I thought I was going to pass out. I was like, oh my gosh. um, but it was such a beautiful experience. If you see the newspaper article, you know, it says I asked out Princess Diana for a date and gave her my telephone number. You know, I would have given her a good life. You know, she missed that opportunity. But it was such a great opportunity to meet her. If you know Princess Diana, she done so much for charity. You know, she done so much for people in need. You know, she's one of those people that will go to countries that you wouldn't think royalty would go to, but she went and just gave of herself. You know, gave of not just money or setting up different charities, but she gave up her time to just be there. You know, and I remember we were all just so grateful to her, not only opening up the renal unit, but just taking the time because she could have come and opened the renal unit and just left. But I remember she sat with every patient, every single child she sat with at least for a good 10, 15 minutes, and just sat and spoke with us, you know, getting to know us, you know, what it's like being a youngster, being on dialysis, dealing with this condition. And you could tell she cared. You know, you could tell that she really took a genuine interest in me as Darren Ferguson. And yeah, I'll never forget it. I'd never forget it. And those who know me know I'm not a royalist, but I'm a Princess Diana fan, 100%. She was just beautiful. That's the best way I could say it. She was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful lady. She was.
Love it. Okay, so that's the end of today's interview. But thank you so much, Darren, for being willing to share your story and also being willing to encourage others along the way as well, on screen and off screen. I know that you do that. And I just want to thank you for your time. And, you know, I'm really excited to see what God is going to do in your future. You've written this amazing book, and I know that the story continues. We've been speaking about process and journeys. So I know that there is greater to come and that your life is going to touch so many more people. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. But before you go, I just want to do something just a little bit of fun. Just a couple of quick fire questions that you haven't had time to prepare for. And you've got about 2 seconds to answer. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Ready?
You want my first answer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, they're not difficult. Okay. KFC or Nando's?
KFC.
Hot or cold desserts?
Hot.
New York or Vegas?
Oh! Vegas. Oh, Vegas.
You need to repent when you come back.
That's naughty. Vegas.
Okay. And just finally, could you share with us maybe a quote or a saying that is important in your life, or one that you use often, or just a quote that you think would be able to encourage somebody watching this video?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a quote from anybody. I think it's my own personal quote, to be fair. Cry if you have to, rest if you have to, but don't quit. That's how I live my life. You know, I watch a lot of sport. If I can just say, I watch a lot of sport, not because I'm just a sports fanatic, but I learn a lot from athletes. You know, footballers, you know, boxers, tennis players. You know, I learn a lot from them because what I see a lot is, you know, the losing team or the losing opponent. they could be down and out. It could be the last couple of minutes of the game. It could be the last round of that boxing. And everybody thinks they're going to lose. But there's something deep within that team or that sports guy that gives it that last push, in the last round. And out of nowhere, they've scored a goal or they've got the shot in if it's tennis, or that boxer's just got that one punch that has knocked that guy out. And I learn a lot from that. That's really why I watch a lot of sport, because I learn so much from these guys, because they have this attitude, that they fight right till the end, right to the final whistle or the final bell, and they've come out victorious. And it shows me that no matter how dark it looks, okay, let's use boxing for example. You could have lost 11 rounds, and 2 minutes of the last round, but that last minute of that final round, you gave it everything and you came out victorious. And I use that for my personal life, that if you have this deposition of don't quit, it's hard. I know the blows that I've taken. I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'6", but my body has taken so much over 39 years that I have to say, God, you know what? It's been you. It really has been you. But I've had to have this attitude of just don't quit. And last year was hell on earth for me. Those of you who know how low I was last year, and how sick I was. But I had to dig real deep, emotionally, physically, to just say, you know what, Dan, don't quit. Even if you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. Even if you can't stay out of bed for 5 hours, get out of bed for 1 hour, and then go back to bed. Take these baby steps. And that's how I live every area of my life now. If I'm up against something financially, dig deep, don't quit, and you'll get out of it. If it's medical, dig deep, don't quit, and you'll get out of it. And I have to stress, you have to find a relationship with God. It's been vital for me. When I've had nothing, when I've gone to bed, and I've literally had to go to bed sometimes, and I say, God, into your hands, literally, and somehow, I wake up and I hear the birds singing, or I hear my kids making a whole heap of noise. So I'm like, but you want me to see another day, because sometimes the pain has been so intense. So intense, sometimes I can't see, I can't move my body or whatever. At that time, it's not about don't quit. It's about God, over to you. So it's if whoever's watching, you don't know this God that we're talking about, get to know him, and it would be the best decision that you make. Because when you're going through those dark days and very tough days, he gives you the peace. He gives you, I know it's a cliche what I'm going to say, but he gives you this song in your heart. You that you may be able to hum, or you just sing it in your mind. But it's only God that can do that. Yes, I've had a great support structure, but there's been certain things that they cannot help me with. And it's only the peace of God that has guided me through it all. But yeah, that's all I can say. Develop a relationship with God. Develop this attitude. Don't quit, no matter what. You can't tell me that whatever you go through, there's a reason to quit. There's not. There's no reason to quit at all. Even if you lose everything, you lose your house, you lose your car, you lose your money. And I'll go as far, if he walks out on you, if she walks out on you, you know, if someone passes away, as bad as that is, you know, as drastic as that is, you know, you can come back.
Yeah.
You can come back, and I honestly believe everybody on this planet is born for a reason, and there's a purpose that they must fulfill. They must fulfill it, but you have to allow yourself to go on that journey. And it's, you know, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have dark days, you're going to have to cry, you're going to have to scream, but it's part of the journey. And if you go through it, good days will come.
Yeah. And just like you, if you go through it, you'll be able to help somebody else on their journey as well. So sometimes the journey or the story is much bigger than the here and now, and it's much bigger than us. It's about the people and what God can do with our story when we turn it over to him.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my journey, you know, I used to think it's just about me. You know, it's just about what I'm going through. But as you say, it's you know, it's a beautiful thing to think and know that you're helping somebody else. You know, you could be crying, you could be in absolute agony. I mean, the amount of times that I've gone to church and I'm in absolute agony, but somebody's come and said, you know what, Dan, you've helped me, or I've found strength from hearing something that you said. You know, it's a beautiful thing. But in my heart, I'm thinking, if you know how I feel right now, you know, it's quite a oxymoron. But you know, as I said before, God gives these situations or problems to people that he knows can handle it.
Yeah.
Can handle it. You know, it hasn't been nice. It hasn't been nice at all. Would I change it? If you asked me when I was younger, yes, I would. Yes, I would, definitely. Would I change it now? I wouldn't. I'd probably make the situation a bit shorter, not suffer so long. But I wouldn't change it, because through me dealing with chronic kidney failure, it's developed who I am.
Yeah.
You know, it's developed my character. You know, I'm a lot stronger. I know who I am. I don't need validation from social media or from anybody, really, because I now know who I am through Christ. You know, if no one else loved me, I now know that Christ loves me. You know, because I've seen what he's done. Yeah. I've seen what he's brought me through. So yeah, I mean, if I can help someone along the way, then thank God. You know,
you are definitely helping a lot of people on the way.
Oh, bless you. I try my best. I try my best.
So for anybody watching, please go and get the book, How I Survived 5 Kidney Transplants and One. We touched on some of the topics today, but there's a lot packaged in this book. So there's a link in the description of this video. Make sure you go and purchase Darren's book. And if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe, as we'll be having a lot more of these types of interviews. But Darren, thank you so much for sharing your story and for being with us today. And we look forward to hearing the next part of your journey. Maybe we'll do a part 2 at some point.
Maybe.
But it's been great having you with us today. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much for the opportunity. Really grateful to be able to share with you. I know you know the story anyway, but to share with other people that I've never heard. So thank you so much. And yeah, please subscribe to Latoya. She's doing great things. Look out for her. She's going to blow up. Look out for her on Instagram, Facebook, and anywhere else. I'm very proud of you, Latoya. Just stay focused and do what you want to do. And you know, I'm here on every step of your journey, every step. But yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Love you. Thank you.
Love you too. Thank you. God bless.